And good morning, speed racing fans, and welcome. We have a special treat for you this morning. We have, in partnership with Glowfish Interactive and Big Sugar, we have TriFox, a blind speed run race. This game just released earlier this weekend, and we have Pika Pals, Half Beastie, and Ludris almost blind racing this. I think some of them have gotten a little bit of practice in, but this game is so new. There's still discoveries being made every day. My name's Vitasia. I'm joined on the mic by Herfy Durfy. How are we doing this morning?
I am doing great. It's a little later here where I am, and as we can see, these guys are already off and hitting it off here with the intro of the game. I will say we were graciously provided with the Steam keys for this before release when we signed up to do the commentary for this, so we could check out the game a little bit. And I was talking to you in the green room beforehand, and I actually finished the game over the weekend because I just couldn't stop playing it.
No, absolutely, and it is a fun game. I've toyed around a little bit with it, got through the first 4 levels, wanted to be able to speak intelligently. That being said, there's a lot of this that's going to be blind, not only for everyone that's out there, but for those of us here in the booth. Really looking forward to this. We have some interesting cutscenes just to start off with. Great, and I just want to comment. The first thing that stuck out to me about this game, it's just very pretty. It is such a pretty game with the visuals.
It definitely is. I love the way it looks, and I love the cutscenes as well. I think they managed to find a great balance between funny but still motivating you to actually go do the stuff that you need to do. As we can see here, our little friend TriFox here got knocked out by the evildoers, and they stole his remote control and his generator.
Yeah, this isn't exactly save the world sort of stakes here. But you know what? Anyone who's ever lost their remote control for their TV, yeah, I have that same reaction as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look at that reaction. That is definitely save the world stakes, right? Even the guys on the moon are like, hey, someone got their remote stolen down there.
All right, so the interesting thing about TriFox as we see the loading page going through here is you start off with no skills, no abilities whatsoever, and you have 3 different paths. You can be, we have our tutorial stage here with just basic movement, how to pick stuff up. We can double jump, which is nice. The movement, in order to really move fast, you have to kind of hold one direction quickly. But then the big choice, we have, warrior, mage, and engineer to kind of build out your skill trees here. And you can mix and match however way you go, but let's be honest here. I think through all of the speed running that we've done and watched, there was a speed running contest for just the intro level when it was demoed. Okay, we see Ludris actually going mage route.
Yeah, that's quite interesting to see one of them actually choose the mage. The difference in the first thing you get for each class that each of our players here picked first was a movement ability on the button B. And each class has their own movement ability. The mage class works on charges. You have, I believe, 2 or 3 charges of your little teleport dash that you got there. And then you need to wait for it to recharge. While you're able for the warrior to just spam the dash ability. It takes a little bit of the blue bar, mana, stamina, whatever it may be, every time you use it, but it's not so much that it really bothers you, and it makes you go really fast. And as you were alluding to earlier, Vitasia, to be able to sprint in this game and reach your max running speed, you need to hold one direction for quite some time. But the warrior movement ability actually lets you dash instantly, or rather run and sprint instantly after you use it. So it really saves on that acceleration time as well.
All right, so we have Pika Pals is a little bit ahead, but both Pika Pals and Half Beastie are using the warrior build. Ludris is going mage build. So this really will be an interesting showcase of the different group sets. When you go through and look at, because TriFox, I alluded to it earlier, they did a speedrunning contest for their trial offer, which is a level that we will see. I think it's level 1, 2. The top times all chose Warrior. So it'll be really interesting to see if there's anything different that Ludris can pull off in any sort of limited practice that they've been able to do.
Yeah, I'm definitely curious to see if it's gonna. Maybe there's some tricks involved with it that we don't know about. Maybe Ludris found something where you can teleport past something where you can dash through as a warrior or something like that. I'm definitely curious to see how this works out. So far, not too far behind. Where you can see the spammable warrior dash here on Picapel's screen. You just zoom through the level pretty much.
It's worth noting, playing this game vanilla is very different than playing it as a speedrun. All these crates and jars around are breakable and have money in them to buy your other skills. So if you're just playing it regular, you want to break everything, but speedrunning? Yeah, gotta go fast. Let's just break everything as quickly as we can.
Yeah, I was gonna mention that as well. It's gonna be interesting to see what sort of balance they strike between collecting money that you no doubt need to buy more abilities and better abilities, or going fast and trying to get past everything. You can already see Picapel's here, either trying to figure out the puzzle or trying to find a skip. I'm not sure. Oh, but there.
Yeah, it looks like Picapel's is trying to do a skip right now. You see Half Beastie doing the intended route where you can kind of raise and lower these platforms. Pika is trying to set it up to where, no, we're done and trying to skip, but not quite there, unfortunately.
But we saw this is where Ludris used his teleport ability with the mage. He just teleported up to that ledge, no problem, skipping everything there, already onto the next, I wouldn't even call this a puzzle, already next to the next survival section where you need to stand on these buttons while the enemies try to bother you.
Yeah, the interesting thing, the mage ability, it's kind of like tracer magic missiles that go. There is a little tracer dot that you can see flashing, but otherwise those magic missiles do kind of track the nearest enemy. Meanwhile, the warrior is more of a melee where you have to get a little bit close, so a little bit safer to use the mage tactics because you can stay far away. That being said, the warrior is definitely a heavy hitter. It's doing quite a bit of damage there.
That was another thing I was thinking about. Maybe Ludris also chose the mage movement ability at the start here to also get the ranged mage weapon instead of having to deal with melee fighting these boxing enemies, for example. They hit pretty hard, and they can get quite annoying when they get close to you, so being able to stay away is really a boon here.
Again, the only difficult part about that mage weapon is it does have that tracking where you see that, like I said, that little glowy area, and that's kind of a tracer tracker for it all. So it can lend itself to some difficulty, but it's definitely safer than the melee. So Half Beastie now through, looks like Picapel's is also now through, but Ludris is right there with them.
It really looks like the difference here isn't too bad yet. We see more of the funny little cutscenes here at this game. I love all these cutscenes. I especially love these two newscasters, and without spoiling anything, since I don't think you're able to skip any of the cutscenes in this game, we're gonna get a little secret revealed about the male newscaster that we see here throughout the game later on.
All right, so here's something interesting. Half Beastie is opting to purchase what looks to be an engineer upgrade and equip that as well. So that's interesting. Pika, I'll have to take a look at their abilities, but Ludris is going full mage in the meantime. So a little bit of a head start there.
Yeah, Ludris absolutely committing to the mage build. I like it. I'm wondering which engineer ability Half Beastie has chosen here. I know there's a flame turret that you can get on the first tier in the engineer ability list. There's also more defensive options. We'll have to see once he uses it.
So all of our runners, I just double checked the website this morning. There was something that I'm going to call the Weiss skip that all of them just bypassed. you can actually skip this entire cutscene sequence by jumping on top of a pillar and over the other gate. That is publicly available information right now on the TriFox website, and no one else is doing the Weiss skip. So, just pointing that out. I feel like I need to share the only bit of knowledge that I have for the game.
Very nice. Now we see all of our runners here in another little survival section. You need to stand on that button until it, on the left side, you see the little energy line go in through all the pillars. And you need to wait for everything to be charged while all these guys are attacking you and trying to knock you off the button and do a whole bunch of damage to you. And it can get quite hectic and annoying. But as I was saying here, we see on Half-Beast's side, he bought those flame turrets. They helped immensely with this. You put them up, they keep everyone away from you. They do explode pretty quickly if enemies get to damage them, but more often than not, they can't even really get close.
Absolutely, and looks like definitely using those flame turrets to maximum effect. Pika Pals is through a little bit quicker, but Half-Beasty right on his tail. And this is where the mage not being able to do quite as much damage is falling a little bit behind right here for Ludris, but still right on their tail. So it's still anyone's race.
You see Half-Beasty here trying to punch as many barrels as they can just to grab some more money here. As you were saying earlier, you can mix and match your abilities. The only problem is that you need to buy them all. And to get to the next tier of one of the classes, you need to buy all abilities in the previous tier. So you can get quite pricey quite quickly if you want to unlock a bunch of stuff. And I think especially in the speedrun setting, you really need to know what you want to go for to know how much money you need and kind of plan out a money route almost, I would say.
It's true. And again, because this game just came out this weekend, it is mostly blind. We are doing our very best to, I mean, there's no evolved meta in terms of what's the best way to farm money. We're going into this completely blind, which makes this exciting. Welcome, Speed Gaming Espanol, for the raid, by the way. We are in the middle of TriFox. This is a blind race for a brand new game from Glowfish Interactive and Big Sugar. Just released this weekend, and we're going to try to get through this as quickly as we can for the full game. We have Half-Beasty, Pika Pals, and Ludris all showing us something a little bit different.
We're just doing his best here not to get overwhelmed by all these crabs that are spawning. It's going quite crazy there. I think Half-Beasty is about to start that event. He just pulled the switch on it. Or did he just finish it? I'm not sure. Oh, he just finished it, I believe.
Well, they're both pulling the second switch, so they've both already pulled one switch, and then this run is definitely it's a survival. Kill all the enemies as quickly as you can. This is where the mage class does not do nearly as well. It doesn't have any of the kind of sweeping AOE, control area abilities that the warrior or the engineer have right now. At least not bought yet. Ludris does have access to a couple. They're just not. I just don't know if Ludris has purchased them or not.
Yeah, they're not quite there yet. And we can see on Half-Beasty side here the warrior smash. So both the engineer and the mage tracer weapon that we see Ludris using do 4 damage with each hit. But you can see over on the Half-Beasty side with the warrior slam there with the big hammer, it does 14 damage, and the flame turrets. He's really geared for combat here, doing a lot of damage, getting rid of all these enemies as quickly as he can. And Ludris struggling a little bit. I mean, it's working, but man, these tracer rounds are kind of slow.
They are, and there is a second mage ability that is kind of a bomb explosion that you send out. But again, money is an issue because you have to buy those abilities. So it was just, when you go so fast, you can't afford to buy the next level, or you have to spend the time to go into the next level. So Ludris was the first runner into this level, maybe the last one out, because both the others are already on this final boss.
Yeah, once again, we see Half-Beasty placing those turrets, trying to keep them out of the water spout here, but not having too much luck. Placing himself behind the boss. It's not looking good for that boss. There we go, level done. Really quick work with all the damage output that Half Beastie has.
Every level has a little bit of a cutscene after it, which I don't know about anyone else, but that's cutscenes are the worst as a speedrunner. they're entertaining and it's great to develop the lore of the story, but as a speedrunner, you're just mashing A. You're like, come on, I want to go.
Yeah, I will say unskippable cutscenes are the worst as a speedrunner, but at least, as a watcher and as a commentator, I do appreciate them because they're quite funny, I think. I love this end boss taunting you with your remote and just laughing maniacally at you. Just to waste, like 15, 20 seconds of your time. Nothing else gained from that.
It's just taunting. The game is taunting you and the boss is taunting you all together. Yep. All right, so both Half Beastie's already in level 3. Pika-Pals, it looks to be jumping in right now. Ludris still on this boss. This is the low damage output, and that looks like a death now.
Yeah, thankfully the checkpoints are really, really fair. You can see you start right back at the boss fight, but obviously you're gonna have to do all that progress again. And with the low damage output that Ludris has at the moment, it's gonna be a little bit of a tough fight.
And Half Beastie is showing us actually there is a new enemy in this particular level. In addition to all these traps that we have to avoid, one of the enemies that drops poison on the ground, so you can't necessarily walk on the ground immediately after it or after it explodes. Otherwise, you'll start taking some ticking poison damage. So just another hurdle.
Throwing the little stone heads and their buttons, and then grabbing some more money from these urns laying around here.
You're channeling the Zelda vibe there. It's like, break pots and get money.
Yeah, I was, exceptionally happy when I started playing this, and when I first tried to break a little crate that was standing around and it broke and dropped some money, I was like, oh yes, this is the game for me.
And of course yeah.
They don't like you very much, apparently.
So they drop you down into, of course, the basement of the ruins, and everyone knows all the good stuff is always in the basement, right?
Of course. I think it's quite interesting. I need to pay attention after this cutscene is over on Pika-Pal's side. I'm seeing him with a hammer in hand, but he also has the little tracer mage rounds floating around him. So I'm wondering if he picked, can you even pick 2 melee abilities? That doesn't work, right? You can't pick 2 attacks.
I mean, I didn't try it, but I don't see why not. You can mix and match everything else.
I think the attacks are tied to which movement ability you choose, and he's still got the warrior movement ability. As far as I can see anyways. Maybe I'm just crazy and I'm remembering wrong. I must be remembering wrong, otherwise Pika-Pal's just found an amazing glitch. One of the two, but it's probably me remembering wrong.
Pika-Pal's does have the tracer now, so definitely switched over. I think Pika has advanced. As I recall, this is a little bit beyond where Half Beastie is right now. I think he used the teleport to skip past some stuff.
Yeah, we might not have paid attention. Maybe he was able to skip falling down into the basement? By the way, we see...
It is definitely dashing, yeah.
The buttons, and he's definitely dashing still, yeah, so I think you are able to choose 2 attack abilities, though. I think I'm just not remembering it right, because now he's attacking with the mage tracers while he stays on the button. And then I suppose when enemies get close to him, he'll start swiping with a hammer. Also, I do want to point out while we're listening to this, I really enjoy the music in this game a lot.
The entire sound design is really, really well done. Music, the special effects, when your warrior is swinging things, it feels heavy when you hear that whooshing and the thunks. So it's just amazing sound design overall, and you're right, the music is very good as well.
Alright, so we see now Half Beastie at that point where Pika Pals was earlier. I'll have to rewatch that later. I'm really curious what Pika Pals managed to skip there to get so far ahead.
Here's another new enemy as well that Half Beastie is showing us. I know Pika Pals kind of powered his way through it. These invisible guys are just terrible. They're horrible. I hate them.
Here we see the power of the flamethrower again, just keeping things at bay. They don't do a lot of damage, but they keep things at bay, and that's all you want. You just want your peace and quiet while you have to stand on a button and wait a little bit. And every time down here they activate one of these buttons, the enemies will drop some new reinforcements down the little hole and try to block you from going through. But as we saw on Half Beastie side there, you can basically just run past them on some occasions and skip the battle for now at least. I believe they're still there once you come back, so it can get a little bit dicey when there's like 10 or 20 enemies just beating down on you in the end, but we'll see how they do.
Beastie at this point is making the climb afterwards, so he's done with that particular area, collecting some extra coins through here, but otherwise, is doing a very much classical. The water is filling. We have to outrun the water sort of setup, which classic trope, but it's a good trope for a reason.
It's always good to have somewhere.
Like, if you have ancient ruins, you're going to have A, a water trap where the room fills up with water, and B, a boulder that's going to come rolling down a hill somewhere.
These minigun guys, they don't look too intimidating, and they don't do too much, but their bullets hurt a lot. They can really get you down very quickly. Here we see the engineer attack ability, which is just a little minigun that you can fire. Also does 4 damage per bullet, just like the mage tracers do.
Yeah, the Gatling gun does hurt, but luckily it's a telegraphed attack, so you can usually jump over it pretty well.
I think the most practical use of those flankers, they also usually take aggro away from you from the enemy, so you can take a little break or flank them, and that's probably, along with the extra damage, obviously, the most useful little perk that they give you.
Alright, so Half Beastie, first one through. Pika Pals is now on that final boss fight. Ludris is just finishing up, I think, the second of the fights that are down here.
Mm-hmm. We're going to see our first boss stage on Half Beastie side here. The last stage of every level is a boss stage. Usually it's a pretty quick run through, and then you'll immediately start fighting a boss of some sort that more often than not has a little gimmick attached to it, and they're all pretty fun.
Finally we get to fight this guy. He's been taunting us this entire time, and now it's time to finally come at him.
The goal here is to kill these little guys carrying their little energy cells, and then once you kill them, they'll explode eventually, and you want to throw them at his little perch there, just like Half-Beastie did. Apparently you can also use an ability that throws a bomb of some sort to break those. I just saw him do that. That probably skips a little bit of time, right? That's really helpful.
And that little bomb throw, I think that's an engineer ability?
Right, he preemptively... Oh, he accidentally tossed that one next to it. He preemptively killed 2 of these guys and had 2 energy cells ready for over there. But he was a little low in health, needed to be careful, so he missed one of the throws, but not that big of a deal. Here we go. Second half of the boss health bar. But, of course, that wasn't even his final form.
Of course not, because when you have, I guess, mutagen around him, might as well drink it, I guess?
Sure, why not? And as Chad is pointing out, Looter is doing some nice skips down here, jumping over gates and stuff with his mage build. He's a little bit behind for now, but I do wonder if maybe this is one of the kind of things, you know, where it's a little slower at the start, and then near the end it really starts catching up.
As a speedrunner, the only thing you really care about is getting to the very end, right? So
Exactly.
The final time's all that matters. And look at all that money that we just got.
Sweet, sweet money. So now Half-Beast is going to go back buy some new stuff, and we can take a look at what I mentioned earlier, where, well, first of all, World 2 will now unlock, so that's where we get automatically teleported back here. And we get to see another little newscast with our 2 best friends.
I gotta say, you know, we planned about 2 hours and 15 minutes for this particular race, or a little over 2 hours, and we're through in the entirety of World 1 before cutscene, and we're already sub 30 minutes. We're right on pace on Half-Beastie's side right now, so looking real good, actually, from a speedrunning perspective.
So here we see Half-Beastie buying the second ability in second tier of the warrior tree, so he can buy one of the third tier abilities. And to get to the last tier, he'll have to buy all of those in that tier. And yeah, as I was saying earlier, it gets quite costly after a while, so you really can't just skip out on all the breakables throughout the levels, even if you wanted to. Alright, and this Half-Beastie is showing us the first part of World 2 here. Looter's is fighting for his life in this huge boss arena with the chain gun guy. Good kiting is everything. We see Looter's doing a terrific job of that so far.
That is very important in this game, because it otherwise is very, very easy to lose a lot of health very quickly. You do have to be very careful, and kiting is just so important.
Yeah, it really does pile on quickly if you don't pay attention. Looter's here on this last sliver of health, but he's almost got that guy down. He's trying to see if maybe... Oh, there was a little health drop down there, so he's a little safer now. He should be fine. Half-Beastie still making perfect use of those flame turrets.
Should be noted, like, Half Beastie is not using anything that's really deep in the talent trees. You know, he's using the starting attacks for both Engineer and Warrior, the dash from the Warrior, and then the flame turrets are you know, the first level in the Engineer. They're not terribly deep, so not necessarily needing to go too deep into the skill trees here, which means less money he needs to collect, which means more quickly he can get through everything.
Yeah, he really seems to have figured out a super effective and efficient build. He seems to have 2 Warrior and 2 Engineer abilities. The Engineer is obviously the flame turret and the little minigun in his backpack. The Warrior ability is his attack, and I think he has like maybe a slam of some sort or something. For now, we've got a little turret section going on here. You're going to be sitting in the middle. Wherever you're aiming, you're shielded. But if people shoot you in the back or get you anywhere, it will actually do damage to you. So you really need to pay attention where you're aiming. We can also see here, if you're playing this game with a gamepad, it kind of plays like a twin stick shooter where you're walking with the left stick and you're aiming with the right stick. But if you're playing it on keyboard and mouse, you will get this little aiming laser for where you're aiming, and it makes aiming so much easier. And it looks like Half Beastie switched over to mouse and keyboard just for this turret section here. I don't think I've seen the aiming laser beforehand.
Oh, but now, of course, we're on a minecart chase, because of course we are.
Of course. And there's also a couple of switches on the way that you're free to shoot. They change which way you're going, making the routes a little easier or harder or getting you some more collectibles, but I don't think for the speedrun it's super important. You do have to pay attention though, these green glowing things that we're seeing going past here, they're mines. And if they're too close to you, as you can see there, they turn red and explode, and once that happens, there's no way to avoid the damage, basically.
And so Pika Pals is now at the start of that turret. Ludris still going through. Looks like Ludris also picked up the Gatling gun for the Engineer as well. Just a little bit more consistent damage. You know what, I fully get it, because that, as much as that Tracer ability for the mage is fun, you can't really control where the Tracers goes half the time, so I can certainly understand switching over there to the Engineer, which is, I think, a little bit more consistent damage.
Yeah, it also fires a little faster, so both the accuracy and the extra firing speed can definitely be helpful. Alright, Half Beastie made it through. Pika Pal's still flying over the rails with his little pisters around him. Looking cool.
Nope, another news update.
I really wish I knew what these guys were saying, but I don't know, it can't be that good, right? If they have this guy on.
I mean, it sounds like it's a real language, but it also sounds like it's Simlish. So I don't know. We're gonna need a language expert in here.
If it is a real language, I definitely don't know it. Alright, Half Beastie putting down his turrets. That's another little perk that I didn't mention yet. If you put your turrets down and there's no enemies nearby, they will start shooting at all the breakables that are in the area and easily get you all the money that's in there. So that's a good use of his time while he has to, again, do something else. He just puts his turrets down and gets to collect some money once he's done with the little task he has to do.
Yep, and Half Beastie's certainly making good use of that, picking up. I mean, he hasn't needed to spend any money, but it'll be interesting because he's still collecting, which makes me believe that he has a plan. Half Beastie knows what he's doing and has a plan here.
I'm certainly curious to see where he goes in the tech tree, because I know from my playthrough that later in the engineer tree, you can get upgraded turrets that shoot rockets instead of flames that do a lot of damage and help a lot. So we'll have to see where he spends his money. In this section here, he turned on the little thumper generator, and we have to defend everything, especially the generator, while these blue little power lines are filling up until they're at the end. You can also see a little progress bar under that blue display screen on the thumper itself whenever it's on screen, so we're about halfway done now. These worms can get pretty nasty. They can spit fire that does a lot of damage. They do a slam attack that does about 25 damage, which is about 1/4 of your health. And yeah, it can get pretty messy. They can set you on fire, as we just saw for a little bit there. But it looks like Half-Beast has got everything under control here with his trusty flame turrets.
It's like Ludris is now kind of exploring the engineer tree and said, okay, which one do I want? This is really an interesting section of the game that Half-Beast is showing us, because in traditional speedrunning games, it's all about going fast, fast movement speed. But this is more of a defense section where you have to survive and kind of protect a particular location for just as long as a period of time. So you can't build your character out to just be, movement heavy, fast, and deal damage. You kind of have to have some other considerations in this game, don't you?
You really do, and I don't want to spoil anything, but the little turret section that we saw earlier, it's not going to be the only thing we will see in this game. It's not all just a fox running around, so there's really a lot of different and fun stuff going on in this game, and you can't just purely rely on running through as fast as possible.
This is an interesting section. We're picking up rocks, and it looks like we're using the rocks to effectively jam what would otherwise be compressors and build up too much pressure to cause explosions. Is that about what we're doing?
Almost. We're blocking the steam vents from so the steam stuff's coming out of here, so we can pass through. And usually, I think you're supposed to block one, kill all the enemies that spawn, then block the next one, the next wave of enemies spawns. But Half-Beast said, no, I'm speedrunning. I ain't got time for that. I'm just gonna block everything at once, ignore all the enemies, and then just run away.
See, this will be interesting if we find, for example, if the mage teleport can get us past any of these other obstacles that are going on. Oh, that dash certainly helped us out there as well.
Yeah, you can skip a lot of steps here if you just dash straight through. If you know what you're doing, it's you can skip so much stuff. There's a lot of interesting things you can do, and as we said in the beginning, that dash is paying off big time. Alright, more enemy kill rooms. Kill all the enemies to lower the shields.
Or put a battery pack in.
Or put a battery pack in. Well, I maybe I shouldn't assume things when I don't know what I'm talking about.
Neither of us know what we're talking about. This is blind right now.
Yeah, I did say I played through this game, and I promise I did, but I thought that was one of those kill rooms. Apparently, there's always a faster way. That's why we're speedrunning here.
I mean, to be fair, this is one of those games where if you're speedrunning it, you're playing it very differently than what you're normally playing it. Like, we're crushing pots and crates, and we're killing everything because we want the money to unlock the skills. Like, playing it as a casual playthrough is a much different experience than these runners are doing it, trying to get through it as quickly as possible.
That is very true, yes. Alright, we see Ludris now at the turret section, almost done here. It seems it's almost fully charged. There we go. We're now off to the little minecart section. Peekabou's really close behind Half-Beast. Just needs to block some more vents, I think. Oh, first he needs to get through this and then get through that enemy room that you can skip by putting in a battery. Alright, this level is also very interesting here that Half-Beastie just entered. We are now stuck in, I'm not really sure, maybe a trash compactor with saws and lasers?
So I'm noticing a theme so far. The third level in every place is you get dropped into something, and you have to work your way out of wherever you're dropped.
Here we go, here come the blades. This level is very good for getting your funds up some more because all these crates that are dropping here, you can easily smash and grab the money without losing any time because you just have to wait anyway. And the trash compactors and the saws do the work for you. If they collide with anything, they will crush it and drop the money.
This is really a very interesting level. Again, it's something where this game it's an adventure platformer, but it doesn't necessarily neatly fit into any of the sort of like categories that are out there. It's a little bit of everything, honestly.
Yeah, I think it's a really good mix, as you say. It's hard to really say where you would place this game. Is it like a puzzle platformer? Is it puzzle platformer with RPG elements and also adventure elements? It's like a little bit of everything, as you say. Oh, nice Half-Beastie here running along the little pipe in the middle where the platforms are on.
Definitely showing his abilities as a pro gamer. Still new and moving like he's played this game 100 times, honestly.
Alright, and here we are in, I think this level 3 is probably not a favorite for speedrunners, I would assume. Because first you're stuck in that trash compactor, and now you're stuck in an elevator that goes down a level each time, and then you have to kill a whole wave of enemies before you can go down another level. While these two guys keep taunting you and laughing at you. So I don't think there's really a good way to speed any of this up other than, efficiently killing all the enemies that spawn, which it looks like Half-Beastie is completely set up for.
It's like, oh, the enemy's coming through here? Yes, we're going to have all of our fire turrets already set up.
And we saw Ludras earlier when he was thinking which engineer ability to get. He also opted for the fire turret, and seems to be paying off once again. Oh, well, I say that. Commentator's curse.
He would do that.
Yeah.
It happens to the very best of us. It's okay.
What can I say? It wasn't intentional. I was also saying earlier how mean these little worms can be, so,
While we're showing off all this action, I did want to just give some shout outs to our runners and kind of highlight. I looked them up on, of course, speedrun.com, which is kind of the big website for all the different speed runs that are out there. I did not know Half-Beastie is actually the world record holder for Okunka Madness. First place, had many runs with there. Of course, And then there's also Pika Pals, who I'm very familiar with. Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past, no major glitches, is currently has a submitted record of 205th place. But Pika's been around long enough. I'm sure he has probably some better runs than that. Also in the Link to the Past randomizer community as well. That is what I know him from. Nothing from Ludris. I did check. So if anyone knows any records out there from Ludris, feel free to drop them in the chat as well.
FBC making it back after that first little stop for the elevator. Barely any health left, but it looks like they're just fine. More taunting. I love the little laugh that these guys have.
Very well. It goes back to that sound design we talked about. It's just spot on. Meanwhile, Pika looks like is also on that boss as well, kind of in the same room. So this is overall a much closer race than I think we thought even 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, it's definitely very close. I think Pika is still like one level above half BC, so it's still a bit of a lead. But considering we're in this run 46 minutes now, all runners are still relatively close to each other. Ludris has fallen a little bit behind, but I don't think we're at a part or a pace yet where he can't catch up. So we'll have to see what he pulls out here near the end. Beastie just putting down those flame turrets willy-nilly everywhere he sees an enemy, puts down a flame turret just to distract them a little bit. Oh no, he got shot there.
Oh. That's going to be a bit of a time loss there. That was just a perfect place. Just a single bullet knocked half BC off just out of his run. That's too bad. So he's like, yeah, let's make sure you're dead this time.
Yeah, I can't blame him. These guys, they're definitely snipers. They're super accurate, and as you can see, each bullet does 10 damage. It's your health goes down so fast if you don't pay attention. Oh no, and he fell down there, but thankfully he had enough health to respawn up there. Now he really can't get hit though.
Yep, picked up a little bit of a health potion there, so should be fine. This game is actually pretty generous with the health potions, I found.
I will say this game kind of works in, it very much reminded me of Super Metroid, where if you're low on health or low on mana, enemies in boxes will start dropping health and mana more frequently, which always feels very nice, I personally feel like. Some people might say it makes it too easy, but as we can see, it's definitely not so easy that you never die.
And this is certainly a little bit chaotic here right now. Yeah, you mentioned it looks like half BC is probably on controller again with the twin joysticks.
Yeah, I think in general it just feels better to play a game like this on controller, but for parts where you really need to aim accurately, it definitely helps to switch over to the mouse because that laser pointer just makes it so much easier to aim. Alright, and I think Half Beastie's coming up on the last level of the elevator and the end of the level as a whole.
I gotta say, as a speedrunner right now, seeing the same room recurring over and over, just with an elevator up and down, it screams to me, there's cheese there. There's something we can break to skip a whole lot of this level. I want there to be something there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure stuff like this, right? This is where people are going to start trying to lab things out. see if you can maybe, I don't know, glitch through the floor and immediately fall down to the last level or something like that.
So Smilefires in chat is linking us, who they believe is Ludris on the speedrun website, who also has fourth place overall in Okinawa Madness, but also fourth there, but also Bite the Bullet third overall in that game as well. So 3 really accomplished speedrunners, I would say, and all of them really putting on a show here for this new game. It's looks like it's going to be a lot of fun to try to break as we get more and more into it.
All right, so Half Beastie made it out while Pika Pals is on, I believe, the second level here. He's going to go down to the last one now. And Half Beastie's going to show us boss of world number 2. We already saw the twins taunting us on the monitors with every ride we had to take down that elevator that we couldn't skip. So now it's payback time.
Absolutely. So here we go, and that's lots of machinery. So we've seen Half Beasties, mode of killing things, I guess is the best way to put it. It's like, okay, we're going to throw down a bunch of turrets, and then we're going to kite, which makes sense.
Yeah, and the gimmick here we saw earlier on those little elevator levels that each of these guys needed to go through. You need to kill the enemies to make them put up their shields around their switches, and then you shoot the shields and pull all the switches to electrocute them. And it gets progressively harder. Thankfully, they drop barrels every now and again, which can, as I said earlier, drop some health or mana. So it's not impossible, but it does get progressively harder. I really kind of struggled in World 3 and 4 at the end there, so I'm curious to see how these guys will be doing.
We saw some tracer missiles where you kind of had to keep moving, otherwise you'd be stuck. Or not stuck, but in a world of pain.
Mm-hmm. Alright, got one switch pulled. Okay, good there. Electrocuting the twins again.
All right, 3
really firing all their missiles.
They do not let up. My goodness, that is having some of that passive damage out there in those flamethrowers looks really beneficial. We'll see how Pika Pals rolls through. I've not been keeping track of exactly how Pika Pals has been building, but definitely some mage groups. Nothing into the engineer yet, I don't think.
I do think he has one engineer ability because he has the little engineer backpack, and I see a little yellow ability on his bar on the left. I'm just not sure which one it is. Alright, Half Beastie pulling the switches, I believe, for the last time. Yeah, there we go. And having a turret set up to get that money quicker, I'm sure that was intentional.
Absolutely. Get all that money, and then we are good to go. We'll see if Half Beastie ends up buying anything. That he's got a ton of money, but still using only those early abilities.
Yeah, and they seem to do well for him, right? I mean, why waste money on buying anything if you can just keep going? Maybe his strategy is to only buy stuff once he finishes a world.
It would certainly minimize travel time as best. If you can get through an entire world with minimal abilities, the fewer times you go visit the store. I mean, there are games that have when you pause down to a science for the speed run, and this is just the first evolution of it, minimizing time that you spend setting up your abilities.
And in the meantime, our little newscasters introduce us to our next villain, a mage. And it looks like he won some more warrior abilities, at least one of them. Nope. Looks like he bought one of the final ones. I will say I don't actually know which one that is.
It normally gives us a bit of a preview, but we will see. It does look like certainly set up right now. Does look like Pika Pal's does also have the flamethrower set up, but is focused more on the warrior melee abilities right now.
Half-Beast, you just spin to win through it all, grabbing that first cycle on these rafts, and then dashing over here. Normally you have to wait for other rafts to spawn, but if you're Half-Beast, you don't have to wait. And to answer the question, Chet, it looks like the yellow ability that they've all chosen is the flamethrower turret, at least on Pika Pal's side as well, but usually they're all just color-coded to be blue for mage, red for warrior, and yellow for engineer. So exactly knowing what all the tiny symbols are is a little hard on the restream, I'll admit. I do wonder if he bought the one final warrior ability that I toyed around with, which is it's kind of hard to explain. Oh, he's skipping all the rafts here. Wow, that was pretty well done.
That we'll call that the half-beastie skip. Just jumping, grabbing something, and then jumping over the laser gate there. Just I think that would have been a long fight otherwise.
The thing also is, if you fall in the water there anywhere, it will reset you to where you were on land last. So he would have to redo all those jumps and stuff. That was quite risky, but definitely paid off. We just need to collect all the energy cells and put them in their respective receptacles to get that thing to smash open the path for us, and we can skip all these enemies again.
Meanwhile, Pika Pals looks like is in the cutscene, so through the boss, and we'll see if Pika ends up. No, just immediately said, "I'm good with my abilities. Let's roll."
Oh, Half-Beast almost getting it there, but decides to take the little safer route this time. Alright, one more rune to activate here. It isn't too far off, right there, and then it'll open up the gate just where he stands. So this guy definitely doesn't want to fight us himself, so he just sent all the goons out.
I mean, the bad guys never want to fight us themselves.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
If they did, then it'd be a very short video game. I think.
Yeah, you never know. I mean, maybe then they would they'd win a little more, right? If they don't let us upgrade all our stuff first and so on.
I know that seems to be that needs to be put on a list somewhere.
That was that warrior ability I was talking about. Really good. You basically just dash between all the enemies automatically, and each hit does 30 damage. You're invulnerable, and it kind of stops time while it's going on. It's also super good on bosses. So that was definitely a good investment on Half-Beast's side here. It looks like he knows a little more about the game than he let on.
Yeah, these runners knew that they were going to be running this today, and again, it did come out this weekend, so Half-Beastie definitely spent the weekend studying, I can tell. And by studying, I mean playing a new video game. Because what? And hey, when you do this a lot, you can say that. It's like, yes, I got to study. I got to play video games. It's the best excuse ever.
I agree. It definitely counts. Looks like on Ludra's side, he is fighting with the last little bit of the elevator here. Fighting against these mech walkers that shoot like an unlimited amount of missiles at you. It can get quite annoying.
So Half Beastie is through. Pika Pals, meanwhile, is using that mage teleport really to great effect. I think probably not quite as good as the normal warrior movement, but in certain circumstances, I'm sure there's going to be some teleport skips that we'll be able to use that mage skip.
Yeah, it also looks like we saw this from Ludris earlier, and Pika Pals keeps doing it here. It looks like the mage teleport really lets you skip past a lot of these barriers just by double jumping and then teleporting over them. Whereas all the other movement abilities, you basically need to stop for a little bit. They don't take a long time to break for most of them, unless it's, of course, those laser barriers. We saw them skipping over earlier, but it's still definitely a time save. So maybe that makes up for not being able to just dash everywhere immediately. You can also see here on Half Beastie side, for example, the warrior dash is still super useful, but there's a lot more verticality and a lot more like holes that you can accidentally fall into and stuff like that. So maybe it kind of works out where you can't dash that much anymore anyways, so the teleport ability just gives you more opportunities to skip stuff. Now the goal here for Half Beast is to shoot all these switches that are in each of these little whirlpools. Otherwise the floats will just keep going around in circles forever. And if you manage to do it quickly, like Half Beastie does, then they will immediately take the left, unless they get smashed by a bunch of ice cubes and you fall in the water. Might want to get rid of this enemy first. Yeah, there we go.
Reminds me a little bit of that Final Fantasy VI in that period of time. Like, if you don't choose the right path, you're just going to keep going in a circle.
Oh, yeah. Alright, I think Half Beastie is almost through here, and it looks like Ludris has almost made it to the end of that dreaded elevator section.
It does look rough if you don't, depending on what loadout you have. It's interesting because everything seems viable, but definitely some things help you get through a little bit faster.
I think Ludris' biggest problem right now is that he doesn't have a lot of damage output. He has one warrior like hammer smash ability that does a bunch of damage, but both the tracers and the flame turrets only do a super low amount of damage. So it takes him a long time to kill stuff. And that's really kind of what's keeping him behind here. No, Half Beastie salvaged that barely, but that warrior dash coming in clutch. Oh, Half Beastie, your Leafy Angel enchant says Half Beastie actually got his Okunuka Madness record in a weekly race for the game, just like this. So looks like he's, kind of used to running weekly races for newer games like this, maybe, and doing well in them.
I mean, that certainly puts pressure on other runners like Pika Pals and Ludris. There will be events like this run all through the month of October and into November. So this isn't the first chance that anyone has. If you're out there in the community wanting, looking at this and going, yeah, I think this would be a fun one. Go ahead, join us over on Discords. There will be events like this for the next month or so. So shout out to, again, one more time, Glowfish Interactive and Big Sugar for partnering with Speed Gaming for putting on an event like this and promoting a great game. It looks like we're going to have some fun breaking it too.
Yeah, absolutely. Keep an eye out for this. It's going to keep going, and this is, it's, if you haven't been convinced by what you've seen and what we've said, I definitely think this is a really fun game and worth a try, even just for a casual playthrough.
Definitely worth it. Oh, that had to be a skip. Like, that looked like that was going to take a few minutes, and Half Beastie just dashed right through everything.
Yeah, that was absolutely a skip. Every time you see these laser barriers, usually you can't get through them just like that. Here, for example, you have to wait for those carts for them to open up and kind of follow along. But if you can skip that, which Half Beastie just did, then you're saving some time somewhere. Usually those are those enemy rooms that I assumed we had earlier, where you have to kill every enemy in the room before the laser barrier opens up.
Oh no, is this ice physics?
Yep, good old ice physics. And we'll see what happens here in a little bit. I don't want to spoil the surprise.
Feels like flamethrowers would have a bigger impact on ice than anything.
Right? There's always one hiding somewhere, right?
Yeah, and it's a fun part of this game, but it is something you have to keep in mind. When you have these rooms that you have to clear out, it's real easy for an enemy to be hiding behind a boulder somewhere. Speaking of boulders.
Yep, here we have a little mini-boss. Reminds me personally of Metroid Prime, to be honest, but once again, flamethrowers and the minigun from the engineer making short work of this guy. He doesn't even know what hit him.
This guy's just melting. I mean, literally.
There. Meanwhile, Ludris got bounced next to a exploding barrel and took 50 damage, which is more often than not a death sentence. Alright, Half Beastie also remembered the order in which to push these buttons. Kind of reminds me of hammer pegs, if you've ever played A Link to the Past, which I know you have.
Wow, but yeah, I've absolutely done. I need to de-rust myself from that, honestly.
And here we have the boss fight for World, or not the boss fight quite yet, I think, but another mini-boss fight for World 3.
Yep, shattering the crystals, and of course, lots of other enemies showing themselves as well. So, got to, and this is, of course, we have to, the standard trope, as you do, 4 areas that are creating a barrier around the main boss. Yep, let's go ahead and destroy those so that we can then damage the boss.
I will say this boss gave me some trouble on my playthrough. I got to like the last phase or the second to last phase and got totally overrun and killed immediately. So I have more faith in Half Beastie here, but it gets quite chaotic because so many enemies are spawning. You're basically just trying to kill those crystals as fast as you can so you can attack again, and it's all kinds of messy. If you can manage to guide the enemies into those buzzsaws that are driving around on the outside, that's your best bet, because they also take a lot of damage from that.
Imagine, area denial ends up being very important in this sort of boss fight, but also just AoE damage. The kind of stuff, explosions, turrets that do a conal flame attack, anything like that ends up being important.
Yeah, and we see both for Pika Pals and Half Beastie, they're really mainly trimmed on offense here. They're trying to output as much damage as they can, and Ludris is struggling a little bit here. He is fighting the World 2 boss still. Seems to be doing okay so far, but that low damage output he has is really kind of hampering him.
Yeah, after this boss, I would hope that Ludris takes some time and let's go unlock some other abilities at this point in time. Get some more offensive output. That said, our runners don't know how far. This is kind of a blind race, so they're not stream sniping. They can't tell where each other are, so you kind of have to make a judgment call. And how do you make a judgment call on a brand new game?
It seems like that level 4 or level 3 warrior ability that Half Beastie picked up is really doing a great job here. Picking up those enemies that are still around and usually do a lot of damage to you. But if you can just, invincibly fly through them and do a bunch of damage to them, why not? Ludris made it through his boss fight as well, picking up all the cash that he can here, while Half Beastie is preparing for the final boss in World 3. Oh yeah, first, of course, this guy has to get mad a little bit. That's me watching unskippable cutscenes. Live cam footage of me watching unskippable cutscenes.
So we're at about the hour 10-minute mark. We're halfway through World 3. We're actually making fantastic time over on Half Beastie's side. Pika right on his tail, though.
Yeah, we'll say if Half Beastie continues his pace like this, he might be done at 2 hours. Might be a little too long for him. Even this might be a good sub 2 hours. I don't think he can manage 1:30. He might if he's really fast, but there's quite some bit to go here.
Oh, that's interesting. So that kind of frost that's laying down slows down the spinning that you would normally do for the warrior attack. That's really interesting and a neat game mechanic there.
It also slows your walking speed. It pretty much slows everything that you're doing. It's kind of like the goop from the earlier levels.
Oh, hey, look, it's the third level. We have to drop down something again.
Who would have thought? So once again, as you were mentioning earlier, the gimmick is we need to open all these trap doors to light everything up that's in the middle of the room. We got 4 places to go, basically, top left, top right. Oh, look at that. Half Beastie able to move in the cutscene, putting down his turrets and his ability there before the cutscene even stops playing.
Yep. Only wish you could get fully set up, but still doing an excellent job of doing everything you can to get set up, is knowing what was coming.
Alright, so now all these are activating. These are all jump pads that take you to the corner of the room, which leads you to another part of the dungeon where you have to activate a switch. Each one is kind of like a little puzzle in itself. They're pretty neat. We'll see how fast Half Beastie can get through them. It looks like he knows what he's doing at least.
Okay, so this is one of those, you have to do 4 different parts of the dungeon and each unlock, and you have to just keep going. Okay,
right.
Makes sense.
More ice physics here. Slippery surfaces. Actually, I think they're more beneficial to you in this game than they usually are in other games.
Is physics being beneficial? What?
Yeah, I know it's unheard of, but you kind of, with all your ranged attacks, you kind of keep sliding away from enemies while you can still hurt them, so it's actually kind of nice. And since you have that dash ability, you have so much control over it still.
True, and it looks like the dash ends up keeping your momentum as well when you're on the ice, so you end up really being able to take advantage of it, but for the most part.
There we go. Big glowy crystal destroyed, half of a door open, and a little room lit up down there. And more enemies, of course.
So, I mean, much like we saw in the first dungeon, this might be a situation where we have to revisit that kind of central chamber. We could probably skip some of these enemy encounters. However, you don't want to necessarily let them build up too much because then you run the risk of getting overwhelmed.
Right, exactly. You never really know what lies in waiting, and the further you get along, of course, the harder the enemy waves will get. And at this point in the game, you're facing off against some heavy hitters. You can still kill them pretty effectively, but it gets pretty bad. Especially these mages that we see down in the lower corner that just teleported away. Not only are they annoying because they keep teleporting around, they also heal everyone else. So if you don't kill them, every bit of damage you do will just get healed away again, and it gets real frustrating real quick.
Yeah, we see Half Beastie there prioritizing that mage. One blinks into view, we're going to take care of it immediately.
Yep, definitely the way to go there. Alright, off we jump into the second area of this. We're trying to look for another big glowy crystal that we can destroy, but first, we're going to take care of another one of these guys.
Big ice rock monster.
Just put down some flame turrets. And throw some attacks from the warrior, it looks like. And off we go. But FBC's running low on mana here, and you also have a recharge time on the turret, so you can't just spam them forever. Even though it looks like you can.
Yeah, I mean, you can put up to 3 down, but it is a bit of a recharge there. Certainly making very quick work, though.
Taking an enemy down with them, but the enemy thankfully gets killed on the way down. More free money for us.
Half BC is not even remotely interested in. I think he's done purchasing anything.
It certainly looks like it, yeah. I think he's pretty happy with what he has and his build here, and it'll probably easily take him through to the end of the game, I would say. And here we go, gotta once again kill the wave of enemies. This time we got another big ol' ice golem, whatever it might be. Ooh, needs to be careful though.
All I know, it's clearly made of ice and rock, so it should have a 4 times weakness to fighting moves, okay?
Enter the fire, right? We can really see
together.
It's still relatively fast for Half Beastie to kill all these enemies, but if you run out of mana, you're really limited in your damage output and what you can do. Basically, you're limited to your basic attack abilities, and that's it.
In and with the other runners, it looks like Pika Pals is just about a level behind now. I really think Half Beastie, with a lot of those skips that he was doing, certainly earned his where he's positioned right now in the race. Doing enough research to know what he can skip, what some optimized movements are. Pika is a very competent speedrunner in a lot of games. But when it's blind, that's kind of the difference that even a little bit of research can help do for you.
Yeah, you can definitely see this here with Half Beast. He knows what he's doing, and either by doing his homework or just intuitively. But you can see all of this stuff that he's doing here. He's skipping a floating platform section that is obviously slow if you're just standing on the platform waiting for it to go. But Half Beast, he just decided, nope, I'm going to use all those little braziers, whatever they're called, braziers, to just skip everything and just jump over everything. And that saved him a ton of time. All those moving platforms he just skipped, they move about at the same speed as this one does, which this one, unfortunately, not a lot of opportunities to skip since it's going upwards. But he saved a ton of time by just jumping over everything there, and that's really what got him ahead here, I believe.
Absolutely. Ludris, meanwhile, back in World 2, although getting close to the end of World 2 here.
Yeah, he's still doing a great job. Currently fighting off all the monsters. Once again, one of those sections where you just got to survive and kill everything we saw earlier. I do wonder, it looks like he's gone pretty much full engineer from what I can see here on his skill loadout, with the exception of the tracers for his normal attack, or nope. Well, he's got the tracers and the movement ability of the mage still.
Still using the Gatling gun kind of primarily, so I think that's a better loadout in terms of damage.
Oh, he did buy the rocket launcher for the engineer. It's really powerful. It doesn't take too much mana. If you don't hold down, so the rocket launcher works in two ways. You can either press the button and it will fly a short distance and then explode, or you can hold down the button and it will give you a guiding laser where you can guide the rocket, but obviously that's slower. So if you're just trying to shoot people, the range is a little bit limited, but it does a ton of damage if it hits. And Half Beast, he is in the last part of this level, just about to open up the final door. Another thing worth mentioning here maybe is none of the guys have been in any danger of getting hit by those swinging logs yet, but it's probably worth noting that if you get hit by a swinging log, it will not just do damage to you, it also resets you as if you've fallen down into a hole or fallen into water. So, normally you'd expect you get bumped and you take some damage and that's it, but it actually resets your position, so that can be a bit of a time loss as well if you get hit by one of those.
Oh, wow. So definitely worth dodging those at all costs. And Half Beastie just plowed through that entire section as if there was no risk at all.
Yeah, he definitely didn't care too much. He certainly looked like he knew what he was doing. Ludris has also made it to World 3. I think this is the second level of World 3?
I think this is just still the first world. Just because he was just at the last world.
Right. Alright, it looks like Half BC is jumping back down. He will be oh, I think he actually took a hold down. Did he already kill the crystal? Yeah, he already killed the crystal. Alright, fine. He's totally fine. I thought he accidentally took a hold down that is like an optional thing where you get some more money in the collectible, but he definitely meant to go down there, so he would be right at the exit of the area. As you can see here, now that he's pressed the 4th switch or killed the 4th crystal, you get minigunners, you get those mechs with the rockets, and it gets quite chaotic down here.
Yep, and you kind of want to, it looks like you want to keep everything a little bit separate, because if you let all those, I don't know, more hardy, beefy enemies get together, then I think that ends up spelling more trouble, just because it becomes more difficult to take them out. But taking them out one at a time in those corners seems to be the way to go.
Oh, looks like Half Beastie does want to buy something here. Oh, is he getting the mage ability? Alright, he's finally switching over to the mage movement ability. Maybe for some skips, maybe especially for this boss. I'm not sure if he's got anything planned here.
This is super interesting. All right, Half Beastie. I mean, he certainly showed a command of this game more so. Pika Pals has the big mage nuke equipped as well, so that's an interesting loadout that he's using.
So this boss area, or this boss fight, has a lot of floors that fall away. I'm wondering if maybe that is a reason why he chose the mage teleportability instead of the dash. As you can see, the phases where the boss is down, they go past very quickly because you do so much damage. Oh, look at this. Alright, that's definitely the reason he chose this mage ability.
Yeah. Straight teleport up. That's that's really interesting.
As you can see, normally you have to wait for all this stuff to go away, you know, you have to wait for all the shards to fall down, you have to wait for this laser to come in the floor to switch into the right position so you can get to the crystals. But apparently, if you have the mage teleport, you just ignore all that and teleport up to the crystal and say screw it.
It doesn't look like the mage boss in particular, like when you damage him, his health just drops down pretty quick. So it's not a matter of doing a lot of damage to the boss. It's just a matter of efficient movement in order to get up to those crystals to be able to reduce his shield down.
Oh wow, what happened there? I don't think that was planned.
Ooh.
Getting a little more dicey here with the floors, but if you found a spot where you can feel safe, it's not too hard to dodge over these waves. Oh, there's a laser. Still not letting him go up to where he wants to go here, having to wait out all the boss attacks before he finally lets him up there. Ooh, barely getting saved.
That was very, very tight.
Alright, here we go. Some stairs are finally building. 2 more crystals to go.
Every platform except one was covered. Okay, this is an interesting mechanic. It feels very almost MMO-like, you know, in terms of dodging boss mechanics and making sure that you have to get, you know, in certain positions. Very cool.
Alright, let's see. Looks like some more stairs are building. Here goes another crystal. Oh, okay, he wants to skip this one, just placing a turret there. That's a smart move. Alright, that was definitely a good skip. Saving some time.
Placing that turret down. Yeah. Okay, so wow.
Now his dad doesn't even care about any of the money. You know, he bought that other movement ability. I think they're only 250 each or something like that. It's very cheap, and he definitely had that. And we're off to the last world.
Making fantastic pace at 129. We'll see. The question will become: can Half Beastie get a sub 2 hour for the first ever playthrough for this game publicly?
And here is a little secret that I was talking about in the very beginning for our little male newscaster guy, because he is not actually wearing pants while casting the news.
I mean, I don't know a single newscaster that wears pants when they cast the news, but
I mean, I'm not wearing pants right now, so, you know.
handle Harpy. Scandal.
I know. All right, here we go. This is the final.
Is this just help me? Is this just a boss world? Like, there's no other like levels. It's just boss.
Mm-hmm. It is not quite just a boss room like all the other boss fights. It's more of a level with the boss at the end, but it's only one level. And they really, you know, they go all out, as you can see here. They're throwing everything at you. Ooh boy. He made it through. And now
didn't kill everything.
Here comes the fun part. He didn't kill everything because he will kill everything now.
The army comes around and we're in a giant hamster wheel.
Here we go. We are in an invincible hamster wheel, and we're chasing down this guy that has been taunting us with our remote for the past 1.5 hours. And it's finally time to get our well-deserved revenge on that guy, and especially get our remote back.
I mean, that's the most important part at the end of the day, because without my remote, I can't watch football. So.
Right. And Half Beastie definitely knows where all the little speed pads are here. He's just blasting through everything. Doesn't care for money, doesn't care for anything. Just wants to get through here as fast as possible. And is doing a pretty damn good job of it, too.
That looked like it was a little bit of a skip, maybe right there, jumping up on a platform.
I believe that's the intended way, but you have to figure that out first. So he definitely had a good, you know, route up there to not be held up for too long. Oh man, jumping over everything there. There's usually like platforms in the middle like they're here, but he does not care. He's just giving everything left and right. Well, Ludris taking care of that ice golem boss, making it out of that world finally.
This is probably a lot more precise jumping than Beastie is making it look.
And here we go, the final boss. Of course they couldn't leave us in that little ball, right?
That would have been amazing, but... Alright, final boss. Same... Oh, okay. So destroy the arms, okay.
Right, as you can see here, Half Beastie, you have to destroy those little orbs that connect the arm to the body. Dodge all the rockets and all the stuff that he's throwing at you. Doing a pretty good job. Oh, like once again, maybe I should stop saying anything. But as I was mentioning earlier, the game is extremely nice about you dying, because it didn't even take a second and we were right back into that boss fight.
Very quick, very efficient to just letting us get right back into it.
Alright, 2 arms gone so far. We're a little below half health, so you need to be careful, especially now. But there's a big health drop on the left that I just saw. It's hidden behind the HUD right now. There, we can see it.
Does the health drop down with this?
Good question. We will have to see. I'm not sure. Doesn't look like it's anywhere. Alright, now this part kind of drove me a little crazy because it's a lot harder than Half Beastie's making it look. You need to shoot his 4 laser cannons, but that's not all he does. Maybe in this phase it might be all he does. But as you can see, he also drops the floor, he starts flamethrowing. It's all a big mess.
So each arm has... okay.
Yeah, each arm has a little health bar on top. The little glowy orange bit. That slowly gets lower and lower, but unfortunately Half Beastie taking a death here. As I said, this part is pretty tricky. It's kind of hard to aim at those things and still do damage, and especially when they're hidden behind them and the camera angle doesn't quite work for you, it can be quite tricky.
All right, 2 down, yeah.
Arms, and the 2 back arms are really the tricky ones because you can only really hit them when he spins them around like that, and then you can only hit them for a very short amount of time. And if he's back like this, and now he's trying to get the back right arms, as you can see, it's almost impossible to hit it. It's just a pain. But it looks like Beastie doing a great job here. Still got some damage on that thing. Now he's stuck on this platform again with all the enemies and all the rockets. It's quite a thing here. Just a little health drop. Now the boss is completely out of reach, which is a phase you never want to see when you're speedrunning a game. But thankfully, you can make those mechs run off, so there's, a little silver lining at the end of the tunnel. Meanwhile, to check in on our other runners, Ludra's here doing the pre-final boss fight for World 3, while Pika Pals is on the actual final boss fight. I haven't been paying attention, I must admit, if Pika Pals has been doing any boss phase skips like Half Beastie was doing. But just from what I've seen earlier, I don't think he... oh, well, maybe he did. He definitely got taken up there with the crystal, which I don't think is intended. Alright, Half Beastie is once again down to 1 arm. He's at 3/4 health almost. He should be a little better this time. He's figured out the angle at which he can hit it. So now he's good.
Yep. So all 4 arms now down. Just a little bit of boss, and
that was the last hit.
When's the dot done?
That's a good question. I don't know when the time is officially over. Maybe now when he grabs the remote when the cutscene's over? Or maybe when he teleports back to the hub now. Yeah, there we go. That is officially GG for Half Beastie. Winning our blind race here. Very well done. Almost, I feel like if he worked on this for another week or so, he's got a sub 130 down. No problem, right?
Oh, absolutely. And there's so much exploring.
There.
Oh, yeah, I mean, we were so focused on getting our remote control back, we forgot. Yeah, the TV was busted too, by the way.
Congratulations, you made it. Very well done. All right, now
Absolutely.
let's take a look at our other two runners here. Peekaboo still in the middle of the boss fight, it looks like, and Ludus is just getting into that boss fight, if I'm correct about that.
Worth noting that TriFox is such a new game. It's not even listed on games at speedrun.com. So, as far as we're concerned, this might be a world record right now for a brand new game. 138.19 is the time to beat for everyone out there who wants to speedrun this game. So, you guys know what to do.
Yeah, get to running. Alright, Ludris is putting the heads into the right containers. While Peekaboo's just getting either the last phase or the second to last phase of the boss down here.
Yep, definitely World 3. We're dropping down into something.
Yep, definitely.
And looks like Half Beastie is going to be available to join us here in just a second to chat.
Awesome. I definitely have a couple of questions for him.
And joining us now, Half Beastie, winner of the first ever TriFox Weekly. GG's, Half Beastie.
Yeah, GG's.
Yo, GG's, thank you very much.
You did a very great job. Obviously, you look like you came well prepared. How much preparation do you put into this? It looked like, especially with the boss fight against the mage boss, where you switched to the mage ability to skip some phases and stuff, it looks like you definitely knew what you were doing.
Yeah, I've done some practicing of basically all levels and all bosses. The mage boss especially has a few tricks with which you can just break the boss a bit and make it a bit shorter. The mage teleport ability specifically allows you to skip the second phase of the mage boss. If you do it properly, I messed it up a bit, but
I mean, it still saved you some time, and it definitely looked cool when you were teleporting up to that crystal that I don't think you were supposed to go up to.
yeah, at that point you weren't, no.
But yeah, definitely GG's. It was very fascinating watching you guys. I've played through the game once as well, but definitely nowhere near your time or anything like that. It looked like also you really had your ability set picked out. You definitely knew what you wanted and where you wanted your build to go. Why did you end up running with the mage tracers? Did you even use them very much in the end?
Which ones?
Or do the mage tracers just appear as soon as you have a mage ability equipped? The floaty crystals around you?
I think they just appear when you have mage ability equipped.
Oh, that makes a lot more sense. Alright, cool, yeah. No, but definitely, It looked like you had your equipment very well thought out. You had the flame turrets that really help keeping enemies at bay. That warrior ability, the last one that you bought, is super helpful to get a lot of damage out to a lot of people. Yeah, so it definitely looked like you did your homework here.
Yeah, just playing through the game casually and looking at all the abilities, I had a pretty quick idea of what abilities I preferred. I think this early on in the game, it's more important to have just abilities that you like rather than necessarily the fastest abilities.
Yeah, I can definitely see that.
But yeah, this ability set, especially the flame turrets, they are so helpful because you can just keep enemies away from you, kill some enemies while you're doing other stuff, so especially early on for the money route. Which I got super lucky on the money route because I got the exact amount I needed after the second boss.
Nice. Yeah, I was going to ask you that next. Do you have some sort of money route planned out so you at least know where you need to be after each level or after each world?
I have a rough estimate, yeah, but there's also just a little bit of luck involved, and if you lose more health, there's a bigger chance of potions to spawn instead of money, so that'll cost you money.
Mm-hmm.
So, and yeah, like I said, this time during my practice run, I think I had like 300 or 400 coins more than I needed, and this time I was exactly on the nose. So that was, yeah, just very lucky to get there.
No, that wasn't lucky. That was optimization, right? That was totally on purpose.
That's exactly what you needed to do.
Oh, that
I
will
was
never happen again.
You just optimized your run perfectly and had exactly the amount that you wanted. It went as planned.
Yeah.
But yeah, as you can see, you were quite ahead of both your competitors here. Pika Pals is close behind. He's just blazing through with his little glowy ball here, his hamster ball to the last boss. And Ludrus is a little bit behind. I think my theory that I mentioned earlier is he kind of stuck with abilities that don't give him a lot of damage output. He's using the machine gun a lot, as you can see in the flamethrower turrets, and they're good for crowd control, but they don't output a lot of damage, and it's really hampering him here a little bit.
Yeah, so for the first two worlds, I think, except for maybe the elevator ride in 2-3, you can skip most of the fighting or leave it to your turret. And after that, you want at least one very good damaging ability to just fly through the enemies and just do some crowd control. Because at that point, not having proper damaging abilities is going to slow you down so much.
Mm-hmm.
I was gonna ask. Oh, go ahead.
No, yeah, like up until the second boss, you can skip most of the fighting. So
I was gonna ask. It's pretty clear that you've done at least a little bit more research than the average person. Is there an ability that you didn't use that you look at? You're like, maybe I want to investigate this a little bit more to see if there's some use to it.
I mean, there are some things. There's the engineer mine, which you can actually see on my screen now, which might be useful in some points, especially during the mage boss. I think it could be useful. Beyond that, I haven't taken too much of a look outside of my current abilities, but like the warrior tree also has some attack/movement ability combinations, like the one I'm showing now, where you just do a jump attack. And those are the kind of abilities I'm definitely going to be looking at in the future, because if you can combine movement with attacking, that just makes it even faster.
So I've seen that most of the skips that I've noticed, at least while I watch you guys play, is with the mage teleport ability, you get a lot of opportunities to skip over either the breakable barriers or sometimes even over those laser barriers that only go away if you kill all the enemies.
Yeah, the mage teleport is quite strong in that way. There are a few places throughout the game where it can save you a lot of time. The only problem with that is that the warrior dash ability is basically limitless and instantly puts you into sprint. So for overall movement, that one is faster. And I think in the long run, the mage teleport doesn't quite weigh up against the raw movement you get from the warrior dash, except in like the final boss, and maybe there are a few other places where it could work, but if you have to go out of your way to get it, that's also like 10 to 15 seconds you need to just swap around that ability and then swap it back again.
Do you think there might be some skips in the levels themselves you could maybe do with the teleport ability or something that might make him more viable throughout the whole run? I don't know if that's some, like, if you're also a glitch hunter or someone who really, labs the games out or not, but I was wondering if there maybe were some skips in the levels or some potential stuff that you noticed while you were playing.
There are one or two places that I noticed, definitely. Very specifically, the final regular level, the trial level.
Mm-hmm.
The long auto scroller there, you can basically skip completely with the mage teleport, or at least make it to a point where it takes you about a minute less.
Oh, that's
So
pretty significant, yeah.
Yeah, that's something I need to test out to see whether or not it works with the camera, whether or not it actually saves as much time as I think, whether or not it's viable. And there are a few other places I have in mind, but I'll have to really test that throughout the week.
I also noticed in that, oh man, which world was it? There's this, I think it was World 3, I don't remember which level. There's usually a very long kind of auto-scrollery platform section where you're on a moving platform with like buzzsaws and logs that try to knock you off. And you just warrior dashed over to the lamps and then to the other platforms and skipped pretty much everything there.
Yeah.
So that was definitely a huge time save, I assume.
Yeah, just moving like that is so much faster than having to wait for the platform the entire time. And yeah, the warrior dash, because it puts you in sprint, you get a lot more jump distance instantly, and you can do another dash before you land as well. So you can dash off a ledge, do a double jump at sprint speed, and then do another dash, giving you insane distance.
Yeah, that definitely is a lot of distance. And as you said, that the warrior dash ability immediately puts you into sprint is probably one of the biggest upsides, because going into sprint normally, if you just hold the direction, takes quite some time.
Yeah, it takes like 3 seconds, I think, maybe 2, but yeah, with the other movement abilities, that just costs you time. Plus, definitely the fact that you can almost infinitely spam the dash also helps, because the dash is still faster than the sprint as well.
Yeah, that's what I noticed in my casual playthrough as well. That the sprint only takes a little bit of your mana bar or stamina bar, and you can basically spam it forever and ever. It's really helpful.
Well, I mean, so are you going to be taking part in other races? Because I know that Speed Gaming is going to be doing, TriFox races for the next month or so. So you're going to be joining in on the rest of the races?
I am planning to join as much of them as possible. I'm really enjoying the game so far, and I'm excited to see how far this game can go, because just from what I've seen so far, I think that there's another 10 minutes on the table. Like, we're only 4 days in and we're at this point.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah,
there's easily another 10 minutes on the table, and we'll see how far we can go over the next, I think, 6 weeks.
Nice. We were definitely speculating about sub 130 earlier, and I think it's definitely in there. I wanted to ask you, do you know if what your run is a world record or not? Do you know if there's, because it's apparently not on speedruns.com yet.
If it's not on speedrun.com yet, I wouldn't know. I'm only aware of the people playing this in this race right now, so.
Okay. Well, we'll just assume it is for now.
We'll call you a world record holder for now.
Yeah, that's fine.
In the meantime, it does look like Pika Pals has joined you with a time of 151.34. So GG's to Pika Pals for also completing.
Yeah, GG's
Yeah,
also
GG's.
nicely done.
But any final thoughts before we let you go here, Half Beastie?
No, other than just thank you very much for organizing this, for commentating this, and I hope to see you all over the next 6 weeks and have a lot of fun. And if anyone else is interested in running the game, definitely pick it up, because it's it's a ton of fun.
Awesome. Thank you so much for the run and showing it off. You did a great job. GG's again, and good luck on the rest of the races. I'm looking forward to see where you and all the other runners can push the run. It's definitely be a good one, I think.
Yeah, GG's, and thank you. See you next week, I guess.
All right, see you next week.
That was Half Beastie, of course, the current world record holder for TriFox for a game that's been out for just a couple days. So definitely, I think he's right. 130 is going to be, I think, the next big milestone for this race.
Yeah, very nicely done here. You see Ludris still fighting against the hordes of enemies here. It's this gauntlet is just, man, it's something.
Yeah, it's a rough gauntlet, absolutely. And you mentioned it earlier. You definitely have to have the damage output to really get through here smoothly, and that's something that Ludris's build has kind of struggled with this whole particular race. He's gotten through stuff, but it just takes a little bit more time.
Yeah, definitely. And he does have some more damaging abilities now with the rocket launcher and everything, but it's still rough. These guys do a ton of damage. And hey, we can welcome Pika Pals here, our second place finisher. GG's, Pika. How are you feeling after this?
Hey, thanks. I'm feeling all right. Start was a bit messy, but the end went a lot better than usual.
Well, it looked pretty good from our side, so definitely GG's.
Thanks.
We were talking to Half Beast here earlier a little bit. He was saying that he definitely had his build planned out, and he also knew a little bit about where he could maybe skip some boss phases and stuff like that. How knowledgeable were you about this game before going into this today?
I've been doing a decent amount of practice. I've got a good idea of at least how I feel like I want to go through the levels, but I know I could probably improve most of the fights.
Yeah, I mean, but the game's been out for 4 days or something, or 2 days now. So
something like that, yeah.
I feel like, of course, there's going to be room for improvement. I'd be amazed if you said, no, this is pretty much the best I can do.
Oh, yeah, 151, that's about the best.
I'm going to hang it up here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no, this is about where I was hoping to be at this point, so I'm happy with that. I knew I wasn't going to put in enough time to improve my fights too much, so I was just hoping to find all the overworld movement gains that I could work for.
Mm-hmm. Is there anything in particular that gave you a lot of trouble this time around? Any boss fights or anything?
Not more than usual, I'd say. The final boss just always gives me a bunch of trouble, so I still need to figure out a better way to handle him.
I mean, he's a whole mess. I agree. To be fair, I only played through it casually, so I'm not really looking at it through a speedrunner's eyes, but that boss fight is a big mess.
Yeah, I mean, he was a big mess for me casually, and he's still a big mess now. At least I've figured out how to do Phase 1 easy, but Phase 2 is just so much.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of stuff going on. All the lasers and the fire and the enemies that are spawning, and it's just a whole thing.
Yeah. And then the flamethrowers just don't want to target him for some reason, so I can't use that, and...
But, I mean, it's good to hear that you're overall happy with your performance and you're at where you hope will be. So it sounds like you still had fun playing.
Yeah, it's a good time. Be nice to not have to watch all the cutscenes every time, but I guess some things you just have to live with.
Yeah, we were definitely talking about that. Unskippable cutscenes are, the bane of every speedrunner. And if you're not just doing one run, if you're doing a couple of runs in a row, it probably gets pretty annoying.
Yeah, especially when you just start out with 2 minutes of waiting.
Yep. So did you also have your build kind of pretty much planned out on what you wanted to do, or were you improvising a little bit here and there?
I've more or less got it figured out, at least for now. I've pretty much just been trying to minimize going to the shop as much as possible, and then still trying to mess around with the final boss loadout a little bit.
Is the money route a big consideration for you, or does it kind of just work out because of all the boss drops and stuff like that?
For now, basically I'm just caring about money at the early game.
Okay.
Like I want 1250 for the mage weapon by 1-3, and then the mage orb by 1-4, or for the boss, and then at that point, it's just I can usually collect enough money to buy everything I need.
Why are you choosing the mage weapon over whatever weapon you're starting with? I'm assuming the warrior one, right?
It's just to trigger the mage orb more easily, basically.
Oh, okay.
The mage orb likes to do half your health if you are standing right next to it when it explodes, so
Oh, yeah, that
I
sounds
like
like
to
not a
just
good
have
time.
the distance.
Yeah, okay, it makes sense. I can totally understand that.
Yeah. It just helps for a few of the trickier fights.
Uldra's really committed here to skipping this platform section with the mage teleporter. He's not having too much luck so far, but
Yeah.
I appreciate the commitment, at least.
yeah, absolutely.
Just try. Pika, I was going to ask, and I kind of asked Half Beastie the same thing. Going over the skill trees, is there any ability or move that looks intriguing, like it has some potential to do some different things from a speedrun perspective that sticks out to you?
I haven't played around with a ton of them. I think in my casual playthrough, I at least unlocked the ability to see all of them except the tier 3 engineer stuff, so I haven't looked enough at that, but I do enjoy the railgun. I just would have to actually care about money at that point, and I haven't felt like figuring that out yet.
Totally understandable.
While you're talking about the railgun, this brings another question to mind. I didn't ask Half Beastie this, but I should have. I noticed Half Beastie in that turret section that you're on. He switched to mouse controls because if you're aiming with a mouse, you get a little like laser pointer thing that makes aiming much easier. Is this something you've toyed around with? I didn't really pay attention, to be honest, or don't remember if you did or not.
Not really, actually. I don't usually have a mouse around when I'm playing this, so I haven't tried mouse stuff at all.
Okay.
But yeah, I could see how that could be pretty helpful in a lot of sections.
Yeah, I noticed it in my playthrough when I just accidentally hit the keyboard. That suddenly I had a little laser pointer pointing at where I was aiming, which makes it so much better to aim with the engineer little machine gun or whatever.
Yeah, I could see that. I just always relied on my mage bullets to home in on whatever I was hoping to hit.
Mm-hmm. FBC's in chat and he's saying, aiming the turret is hell regardless. It likes to luck to all the wrong stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I
that
believe
sounds
that.
like something it does.
Yeah, I've like messed around with none of the engineer stuff. Like I only started trying out the flamethrower because I wanted a way to handle the shields better.
Mm-hmm.
Realizing I could just jump on top of it to jump over some laser fences was just an added bonus.
Yeah, that worked out quite nicely. In my playthrough, I played the engineer almost exclusively because I wanted to see what the last tier was, and I never thought of that once.
Yeah, I only thought of it after I had figured out you could use the mage to teleport over a couple of them. And then I was just like, maybe I can just jump over these two if I had a little more height.
Mm-hmm. I also asked Half Beastie this, but did you see anything during the levels that might be worth, labbing out if there's maybe something you can skip or maybe a phase you can pass? Or we're talking especially about the elevator ride in World 2, I believe, 2-3 or something, where you ride down a level and then you have to pull the switches on those little generators and walk all the way back and ride down another level and kill another wave of enemies and stuff. If you could clip through the floor or something. Is there anything you noticed that might be worth investigating?
Not right now. I have to actually pay attention more rather than just trying to get through as much as possible. But
yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, for the most part, it's if you could skip those elevators, it'd be really nice. I imagine you'd have to, if you get down to the lowest level, do a quick retry down there, and then it would probably spawn the elevator if it checkpoints you.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think the main thing I realized this one was that you could probably get through even phase 3 of the mage fight, boss 3 fight faster. I had never actually done that, but I managed to kill 2 crystals in one round of phase 3 because the flamethrower killed one of them for me.
Mm-hmm.
So if you could do that on part 3 of that phase, you could just skip the final phase altogether, I'd assume.
Yeah, that's true. I wonder if there's some way to maybe like pre-place the turrets so they ride up with the platforms, and then when the crystal spawns, they just kill them.
It could be. I think on the first 2 phases at least, it wouldn't work because you're pretty limited which platforms still exist. But phase 3, I don't quite remember how the layout looks at that point, so maybe there's a way there.
This boss normally is just a whole lot of waiting, which I'm sure is to the delight of every speedrunner.
Yeah. When I originally saw I could teleport up there in phase 2, I started desperately looking for a way to teleport up there in phase 3. And they just had to raise the columns a little bit higher that time.
They knew.
Well, as we're looking to wrap things up, Pika, do you have any kind of last or final comments, at least for this week?
Not too much. I'm probably just gonna watch the VOD and see how everyone else handled some of the stuff. See what improvements I can make where. Hopefully find a way to handle the final boss in a way that doesn't get me killed half the time.
Yep, absolutely. I mean, we'll be looking because we'll be having races for at least a month here in Speed Gaming. So it's absolutely been fantastic. Looking forward to seeing this record come down.
Yeah, should be fun.
Yeah, so again, GG Pika, thanks a lot for letting us restream you. It was a lot of fun watching you guys and seeing how the different builds and kind of the different ways to approach the game worked out. And good luck on the rest of the races. I hope we'll see you again in one of these weekly.
Yeah, thanks. I'll try to make most of them at least.
Nice.
With that, we actually have to wrap things up. So I do want to give one last GG's to Half Beastie, Pika Pals, and of course Ludris, who continues to run right now. That being said, we are going to keep it here and transition over. We do have a Link to the Past Randomizer League Invitational, looks like between Humba and Gamachu, coming up almost immediately. So stay tuned. We're going to have some more randomizer action coming in for you.
Yeah, thank you so much, guys, and have a great evening. GG's to all the guys again, and talk to you soon.